4, follow traffic, clear visual approach, runway 4 right, maintain 17, John Austin, 5 mile final. Alright, 17 till 5 out.
Leveraging the power of social media to highlight the best of our industry. From the National Business Aviation Association, this is Flight Plan. I'm Rob Finfrock. We've all seen how social media holds tremendous power to connect humanity and introduce new information and perspectives to others. We've certainly seen that in business aviation as well, especially in content posted by my two guests today. Stephanie Getz is a professional pilot and flight instructor who's on Instagram at JetGirlStephanie. Mindy Lindheim is an aircraft broker at Lone Mountain Aircraft, and you can find her on Instagram and YouTube at Schmindy. That's with 3 I's. Now, you might call them influencers or internet personalities, but those terms don't really describe what you both do they, Mindy?
I would say probably an aviation ambassador is most fitting. I see us representing aviation. It's a badge of honor for us, and I think that we hold it very highly to ourselves.
Yeah, I like that. And then we are content creators as well. I mean, that's more getting to the creative side as well.
How did you get your start in business aviation, Stephanie?
I got into business aviation just a few years ago, and it all went very, very quickly from there. Back in 2019 is actually when I got my pilot's license, which is not that long ago. But I went through all of my ratings very quickly. And for me, I always knew that the business aviation side of the industry was going to be the side of the industry that would speak to me most and would give me the most happiness and joy. I think part of the reason is because you get that one-on-one interaction with your owners, with your passengers. You're flying just a few people at a time. It's a much closer experience, and you get to go into some very interesting airfields that you can't get into with a 737. And so the mission is always changing. It's always different. Now, I was lucky because I had people around me who were either corporate pilots or I knew of that side of the industry, but there's a lot of people that don't know of it as well. And they know of the airlines really first and foremost. And so that's where with social media and speaking and just kind of evangelizing about business aviation has become a passion for me, because I feel that it's part of the industry that is so spectacular, but sometimes students and flight students don't know very much about it. And so it's been really fun for me to educate people about business aviation, about all different types of jobs, not just a pilot, but mechanic or grounds crew, FBO staff, and showing that this is a incredible part of the industry and one that people can be a part of. And I just feel very lucky that I can show that side, educate, and inspire people to jump into the business aviation portion.
How about you, Mindy?
So I've been a licensed pilot for 11 years now, which is where my social media journey began, because I didn't come from an aviation background or an aviation family, and I didn't have any aviation friends or mentors. So I started posting about it on social media, about getting my license and what it's like to be a pilot. And then when I got my first sales job, I started sharing a lot of the behind the scenes of my sales career and the features of the new airplanes I was selling, and flying brand new airplanes across the country and going to unique places, how Stephanie mentioned. And that was just really new and exciting, I think, for the aviation community, because I don't think at that time there was a lot out there about general aviation. And that's just what really took off my social media journey.
What types of content do you post, Mindy, and what content appeals most to your audience?
I kind of have 3 different buckets, or if you're into marketing, they call this content pillars. So the first one I really focus on is education. Since I am a flight instructor, I'm factory trained on several different aircraft types. I've been selling airplanes for a while, so I like to really share my flying experiences, things that I've learned. It might be red flags on when you're going to buy or sell an airplane. It might be new technology that came out from Garmin. So I do a lot of education in that way. And then I also focus on aircraft ownership. And that's what really is empowering for my business and how I use social media for business, which is sharing what it's like to be an aircraft owner. I own a Cessna 182 right now, and I like to show the world that unlocks for me, both personally and for business. I use my 182 as a business tool to travel to see clients, to take photos of new listings, to try to earn new listings. And then I also use it for fun. So I like to show people how I use my airplane to hopefully inspire them to purchase a plane, which brings it right back to me as an aircraft broker. The type of content that does best kind of depends on the platform that you use. So I am active on Instagram and on YouTube. On Instagram, I find that the most engagement comes from when I share career milestones and achievements. I think that the community on Instagram is pretty tight. It's really exciting to have an audience of people that cheer you on and vice versa. So I think that whenever there's different big celebrations to share, that people are really great to chime in on that. And then on YouTube, the most engagement comes from jet related content because there's not a lot of jet content out there. A lot of people that fly jets don't have the opportunity to film it. So when there's that opportunity to share that, that's far and few between. So that gets a lot of really great engagement, as well as when I have more of these like vlog style clips that really show my personality, and that I bring my husband and I bring my friends, and people almost start to look at you like characters, like a TV show, and they end up watching several hours of you. So you do become a character in their life. And I think a lot of engagement on YouTube comes from just showing who you really are, your genuine self, and people like to see that.
Stephanie, what content do you focus on, and what seems to resonate most with your followers?
As Mindy was talking about, a lot of it is jet aircraft content. I'm mostly on Instagram, but even on there, people love it because they just see something that they will never experience, and it's so awe-inspiring. When I started in social media, the goal was just to showcase the incredible privilege that I had in flying and share that with the world. And so I would just mostly post about this adventure we went on and this flight that we took, and people really started engaging and going, "Oh my goodness, that's really cool. That's really amazing." Because like less than 1% of the US population is pilots. And most that have access to airplanes are flying on a commercial airliner. And so it's a much different experience. It's giving them a window into this place that they may never experience. And so as I've grown and as I've put more content out there, what I find is that what works for me is that I'm just putting out authentic content that I feel inspired by when I put it out. And I know it will resonate with someone else. And if it doesn't, I guess it's just for me and I enjoyed putting it out there. But 99% of the time, if it resonates with me, it resonates with someone else. This is actually a third career for me. I never thought I was going to be a pilot, never dreamed of it, never knew I could. No one in my family is pilots. I was actually a newscaster for ABC, CBS, and NBC for 10 years. And it was never on my radar to become a pilot until a flight instructor in his 80s called me out of the blue to do a story on aviation. And I was like, well, sure, why not? And he throws me in the left seat of a Piper Archer. I had no idea that I would be flying the airplane that day, but any good flight instructor knows you put the newbie in the left seat. And I remember pulling back the yoke for the first time and going, oh my goodness, where has this been my whole life? This is incredible. And so I was immediately hooked. And I knew I wanted to do something in that. But it wasn't until 5 years after that initial flight that I was actually able to take the time and resources to allocate that towards getting all of my flight ratings. And then that happened very quickly.
Now, your content isn't exclusively about aviation, right?
I like to bring in other pieces of me to show that we are completely multifaceted. So there will be many posts that I will have that is all about beauty and fashion, because I love fashion. I could have definitely been a buyer for Gucci or something like that or something similar. But I really love fashion shows. I love expressing yourself in that way. And that's a much different industry than aviation. But you can absolutely be fabulous and fierce at the same time. It doesn't mean that because we like to wear pink or sparkles or like to be girly that somehow we can't be excellent aviators. And so I like to show that in the content. that I create. So it ebbs and flows.
Social media really is about self-expression. But Mindy, what do you hope to convey about aviation in particular?
Great question. So I guess a goal of mine on social media is to position myself as an industry expert and a resource for people that they can lean on for honest and genuine information, especially when they want to buy or sell an airplane, but really about anything in the field. I'm an open book on my journey and what it took to get where I am, and I'm always open having conversation with others who are interested in a similar career. Or I get a lot of parents that want something similar for their kids. So I just want people to be able to see the real me and that I'm giving honest and truthful information. And I guess that kind of leads to what I hope it helps the industry is that I guess it's no secret that there are some less than genuine aircraft brokers. And there's some negative connotation around my career title, especially when you go on social media, people tend to not trust aircraft brokers. So I'm really hoping that I can show people that there's a lot of really awesome aircraft brokers that have a lot of expertise and knowledge to share. And yeah, I just want to inspire people to use their license to the fullest.
I really want people to know that anything is possible for their life. And often we're the barrier to our own success because we believe a lie that we can't achieve something when if you put in the hard work and if you have great people around you, you have people who are more successful than you, especially in the field that you want to be in, it's really hard not to succeed. And so I want to show people that anything is possible for them and be that inspiration. And like Mindy mentioned, definitely also being a resource and someone that they can reach out to. I do try my hardest to be as approachable as possible because we are very lucky to be in this industry, to have the opportunities that we have. And it's also a path that is not like one straight linear line that you go to this school and then you graduate and then you do this and then you take this job. There is so many paths, like choose your own adventure that you can do in aviation. And so a lot of young, especially young women will reach out to me saying, I'm at 1,200 hours. I'd love to get into business aviation or the airlines, which is great. And I say, this is the path that I took, or this is the path that others took. And here are the pros and cons of both. I end up mentoring them. I know Mindy does as well. She has a lot of people that have learned from her an immense amount. And we don't get anywhere in this industry without each other. I have found that it is a very tight-knit community. You're always like 1 degree of separation from someone else. And so using the resources you have around you to the fullest will really create success.
How about when it comes to growing a company's brand or even your personal brand on social media? I've seen some that really seem to do it well and others less so.
Number one, it has to be authentic to who you are or who the company is. People can sniff a fraud or can sniff something that's not fully lining up with what they're saying from a mile away. And so for a company, what that looks like is, who are you? What are your values? What do you stand for? What do you not stand for? And once a company understands their ethos around how they want to operate, then you go into the certain pillars of how you want your page to look, how you want it to feel, what you want people to see immediately when they get there. It doesn't have to be so overly complicated though as well. Ultimately, if you are putting content out there that resonates with your core values, it's going to resonate with someone else because that's who you want to be interacting with you.
Stephanie hit it on the head on the number one thing is to be yourself and showcase what makes you unique and to post things that you are passionate about. Don't try to think, oh, what do people want to see from me? Instead, what do you want to see from yourself? And how she mentioned, people are going to resonate with that. So don't try to put words in people's mouth and make content for people that you don't even know if they want. Just make it for yourself and people will see the passion. But another key piece of advice is just to be consistent. A successful online presence of organic followers is not going to happen overnight. And in a lot of cases, it takes many years of consistency. And this is something I even struggle with myself. My sales job is extremely demanding of my time, and creating content is extremely demanding of my time. But social media is such a powerful tool for me for lead generation. So it is something that I make sure that I schedule time on my calendar each week to put effort in there. So you have to carve out the time, you have to be consistent, and try to create a community of quality audience. I think sometimes people get wrapped up in the number of followers, but that doesn't mean anything if it's the wrong audience. I really want to focus on people that are pilots already or about to be pilots or are aircraft owners. That's most successful for me. And on TikTok, for example, it's a bit of a younger crowd. I found that I had a very quick quantity of audience, but it wasn't fruitful for my time spent there. So I don't post on there at all for many years.
A lot of people will get into trends or the latest thing that's hot on TikTok or Instagram. Those are fun to do every once in a while, and especially if they're short clips. But if you're constantly going after a trend in the industry, you'll always be a second-rate version of that because you're not creating that authentic, powerful content. And so create your own trends, do things that start a trend of some sort or go viral. And that's where you have to be willing to take a risk and say, well, no one else is doing this, but I'm going to try it. And that's what trailblazers do, is that they do things that others are not doing. And people see that and they love it and they follow it.
And both of you will be posting on social media throughout NBAA's upcoming Business Aviation Convention and Exhibition, coming to Las Vegas from October 22nd through the 24th. In fact, you'll also be participating in a session about social media in our industry. Tell us about that.
Ultimately, what it is going to be an organic conversation between myself and Mindy and a few others who have been great participants in the program at NBAA to talk about just social media, but interaction and inspiring business aviation in general. And this is an opportunity for people to hear from some pretty big players in the social media game. And what I think is going to be great about it is that they get to see us from afar on their phone or on their computer, and they get to see us in a light that we also choose to put out there, and maybe an edited version of that. And now they're getting a raw, unfiltered version of this person, but they also get to meet the people that maybe they've been inspired by or educated by, and they finally get to ask us the questions they've wanted to, or eventually seek out mentorship.
I think the panel is really exciting. This is the very first time that we'll be doing this as part of the ambassador program at NBAA in Las Vegas. I think it's really enlightening for other companies and brands to be able to see how we use social media as a tool for business aviation. And maybe you're not selling a product like I am, but maybe you want to use it for networking. Maybe your dream is to fly a Gulfstream one day, and that's all networking. And guess what? You can do that on social media. So I think we have a lot to offer among the several of us that will be on this panel, because we all have different jobs, different backgrounds, and we all use social media in a different way. So I think that's going to be really exciting.
And that panel discussion will take place Wednesday, October 23rd at 2:30 p.m. at NBAA Base. Learn more about the session and the rest of business aviation's largest and most influential event at nbaa.org/BACE. And of course, be sure to follow NBAA on social media as well. We're on Facebook and X at NBAA, Instagram and Threads at NBAA Online, and TikTok at NBAA TikTok. And that's the latest from the National Business Aviation Association. Remember, you can subscribe to Flight Plan wherever you find your favorite podcasts, or by asking your virtual assistant or connected device. You can also download episodes directly from nbaa.org. I'm Rob Finfrock. Thanks for listening, and join us next time for a new episode of Flight Plan.
Right base, sending out 3500.
All right, we got him inside. We're still on 170.